Hi, I'm Chris Pettit, the practicing artist, and I wanted to give you an idea of what I go through when I do a painting that's fairly complicated. This was based on a photograph I took at the meat market in Athens, Greece, and I wanted to do a large painting of it. And what I did first was a study, and after I did the study, I started working on laying in color. I sketched out the image on fairly decent watercolor paper. I use arches, and I start by working around the figures, around my focal point, and start laying in washes in the background and working on those bright colors of the meat in the front of the figures, thinking perhaps that will be my focal point. I'm very bad at deciding what my focal point is going to be, but I wanted to focus on those warm colors of the meat. It's an unusual subject, so I have to take my time with it and really work on what I want to communicate in my painting. Okay, here you can see I've started adding more red and more detail to the meat that's on the left foreground. It's trying to keep it as loose as possible, not putting in too much detail, keeping the white of the paper because the subject matter has a lot of white in it also. Now I've progressed to the background where the meat is hanging and the background behind them. I've added more on his head and hair and started working on that far right figure behind them all and putting in more color, working on their hair, their faces, their hands, laying in initial color, trying to keep the white of the paper. Here I'm just taking you through the painting and showing you close-ups of some of the progress. I'm leaving his face for last. I'm a little nervous about that. I reworked this guy so many times I'm not exactly happy with it, but again, the purpose, the focal point is this couple and what they're doing for their job and their communication. I'm leaving the white of their jackets in there for a considerable amount of time because watercolor, the purpose of watercolor is to keep it light, transparent, bright, and to leave the white of the paper. So I try to choose my subject matter where there's a lot of white. Many washes, much refinement, lifting here and there. The painting is starting to slowly grow and come to a close, doing more detail work on the tables where the knives are. And this gives you an idea here of how many sources I use, probably too many when I paint. I use my study, and you can see the painting's getting pretty filled out here. I've got my study for a source that I refer to while I'm painting. I have my studies of the face and head. I have the black and white to remind me of my values when I'm working. And then I have my iPad, so I'm constantly going back and forth and looking at my reference material to see how I'm doing and how I want to express the painting, but trying not to be too much of a slave to all of these references and let the painting grow on its own. Now we have pretty much finished the painting. There was a lot more to it, but I wanted to show you what the finished piece looks like and how it evolved from that quick study, the pencil sketch on the paper, and how it built. I build up on a lot of layers when I'm working. I take my time, but again, trying to maintain the white of the paper and to keep in mind what the focal point is. Thanks so much for watching and letting me show you how I go through a complex piece. I hope this helps you with more of your complicated watercolor paintings. Remember your focal point, keeping the white of the paper, and above all, just keep practicing. Thank you so much, and have a great and creative week.